Can't create an intimacy, you know? Which mic, do you care? So I have, there's one, and I'm taking number 3.
Okay.
Thank you. Hi, 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 hi. Hi, 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 hi. Hi, 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 hi. Hi, 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 hi. Hi, 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 dee, hi, 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 hi. Hi, da, dee, hi, 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 hi. Hi, da, dee, hi, 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 hi. Hi, da, dee, hi, 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 hi. Hi, 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 hi. Hi, 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 hi. Hi, 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 hi. Hi, 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 hi. Hi, 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 dee, hi, 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 hi. Hi, da, dee, hi, 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 hi. Hi, hi, hi. Hi, da, dee, hi, 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 hi. Hi, da, dee, hi, 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 hi. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Shabbat shalom. Nice to see all of you here and all of you on the screen. So if you don't mind, sometimes during the service, let me see your faces. Hey, faces. That's good to see faces. So I'm going to invite you two up, if you want, Rachel, if you will, or there's somebody else coming, to come up as we light candles. If you want to get your candles now, you can certainly start Shabbos early. If you want to wait till it's sunset or before sunset, that's also fine. Don't be, come. Hi, 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 dee, hi, hi, hi. Hi, 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 hi. Hi, 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 dee, hi, hi, hi. Hi, da, dee, hi, 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 hi. Hi, da, 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 da. Hi, 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 hi. Hi, da, dee, da, 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 da. Hi, da, da. Hi, da, dee, da, da, da. Hi, da, da. So you must know by now why we have two candles on Shabbat. It's because you can have more, by the way. At home, we do one candle for each member of the family. So if they have a lot more, we're going to have a fire commissioner come in with a fire extinguisher to make sure that we don't have a spread. But it's a wonderful thing. We have minimally of two on Friday night. And one is because in the first version of the Ten Commandments, the 10 sayings, in the book of Shemot, Exodus, it uses one word, Zachor, at Yom HaShabbat. Remember the Shabbat. Or have a Shabbat consciousness. Shabbat consciousness. And the other place it says Shamor at Shabbat, and guard the Shabbat, observe the Shabbat. So there are two different ways of getting to Shabbat. One is to have a Shabbos consciousness, right? What does that Shabbos consciousness? Shabbos consciousness means basically, I'm at a bakery on Wednesday, and I see a fantastic cake. I'm trying to watch my weight, so I say, well, I'm going to buy it l'chvod Shabbat. I'll buy it for the sake of Shabbat. So that's a way to deal with it. And since you get an extra soul on Shabbat, you can get 2 portions of that cake and not gain any weight. That's a Shabbos consciousness. A consciousness that basically Shabbat is where we aim for. We aim to get to a place that is a as-if day, as if we were redeemed. Even though Saturday night we begin to look out again and see we're a little far from it. And the second one is to guard the Shabbat, to create a environment within your home, within your life, that gets you away from the computer, gets you away from the phone. I know it's impossible to think about not looking at the phone every 4 minutes, but Shabbat is rehabilitation. Rehabilitation. If we charge $1,000 for it every week, to highly stressed people, they say, wow, this is amazing. 25 hours with no phone, 25 hours with no computer. And their lives remain as productive or as unproductive as it is during the week. So one is Shamor and one is Zachor, and they're two sides, obviously, of the same coin. And one should, once you develop the consciousness, think about how you can actually implement it, do it. And it's something you shouldn't do all at once. You should do a little bit at a time, but still it's a wonderful way to say that I am aware of the two major themes of Shabbat. One is the creation of the world, Zecha L'Maseh Breshit, and the other is that I am free and not a slave, Zecha L'Yetziat Mitzrayim, for the memory of the going out of Egypt. So that in a nutshell, kids, that's Shabbos. That's Shabbos. That's it. Okay. Holy One of blessing, your presence fills creation. Your presence fills creation. Oh, your presence fills creation. Holy One of blessing, your presence fills creation. Your presence fills creation. Oh, your presence fills creation. We take in the light to connect with our inner light of our souls. And we say, as we cover our eyes, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Eloheinu melech haolam, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת. Good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Good Shabbos. There's a wonderful poem that we start Shabbat with on page 2 of your Siddur. And it's a poem from the medieval period. The gentleman who wrote it lived approximately in the 16th century, and it was first published in 1601. So it's been around for a while. But compared to other songs that we have, like the Psalms, it's contemporary. It's rather new. It's only 600 years old, so it's new. So what is it about? If you look at the page, it has 4 letters of the divine name, which cannot be pronounced. Occasionally you'll hear me use the word Yah instead of Adonai, because Adonai means master, Lord. We don't have lords anymore. But Yah, the breath name, which can't be pronounced. So here the poet decided, well, I can't pronounce the name, but I will elongate the name with a stanza. And each of them deal with this idea of yearning, wanting to be whole, wanting to be in connection with, wanting to have the capacity to love. It's a love poem, really. It's a love poem to Shabbat. And it's a beautiful one, and we'll be doing it in one stanza in Hebrew and one stanza in English. On page 2. Yedid nefesh av harachaman mishoch avdecha el ritzonecha yarutz avdecha kemo ahayal yishtachave el emol hadorecha yerav lo yedidutecha Minofet suf vechol toam. How splendid is your light, which worlds do reflect. My soul is worn from craving for your love's delight. Please, good God, do heal her and show her your face, so my soul can see you and bathe in your grace. There she will find strength and healing in the sight. Her joy will be complete then, eternal her delight. Vatik yemuna rachamecha וחוסנה על בן אהובך. כי זה כמה נחשפתי לראות מהרה בתפארת עוזך. אלה חמדה ליבי וחוסנה ואל תתעלם. Oh, help my lover spread your canopy of peace, enfold all human beings, give all pain surcease. Your presence on this earth plane do make known to us, and we shall respond with song and with dance. Rush, my love, be quick, the time for love is now. Let your gentle favor grace us as of old. Let's take a pause. Let's read on page 4 about the pausing. A great pianist was once asked by an ardent admirer, "How do you handle the notes as well as you do?" And the artist answered, "The notes I handled no better than many pianists, but the pauses between the notes, that's where the art resides." In great living, as in great music, the art may be in the pauses. Surely one of the enduring contributions which Judaism made to the art of living was the Shabbat, the pause between the notes. But it is so to the Shabbat that we must look if we are to restore our lives to a sense of serenity and sanctity which Shabbat offers in such joyous abundance. And these are the words of Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. May his memory be a blessing, who has come he died in 1972, but he's really come into fashion in the last 20 years. It's kind of interesting how sometimes somebody is rediscovered as an inspiration. And Rabbi Heschel wrote a book called The Sabbath, which, if you have not read the book, it's a very small little book, read it, because it really talks about the fact how we have established our cathedrals in time and not in space. It's a very interesting way to look at things. And certainly for the Jews who were in exile for so many years, we didn't have one place. So we had to make time the thing that unites us wherever we were. The Psalms that we read in Kabbalat Shabbat begin on page 3. There are Psalms for each day of the week, from Sunday through Shabbat. And before each Psalm, I'd like you to think back, if you can, to where you were on Sunday, and to retrieve from Sunday some moment, doesn't matter how small it is, some moment that gave you some enthusiasm for life. Not easy these days if you watch the news, but if you have something that's been a stumbling block for you, don't bring it into Shabbat, leave it behind. I promise you, you'll have many more stumbling blocks in the week to come, don't worry. So leave it behind. And that's really what we try to do in our Kabbalat Shabbat, is to take what we see as viable for creating a beautiful life and leaving behind those obstacles that stand in the way of that. Page 3, Psalm 95. לכו נרננה ליה, נהריה לצור ישנו, נקדמה פניו בתודה, בזמירות נריה לו. כי לגדול היה ומלך גדול על כל אלוהים, אשר בידו מחקרי הארץ ותועפות הרים לו. Ay rai rai ri rai rai, ay rai 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 rai, ay rai rai ri rai rai, ay rai ri rai rai, ay rai 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 rai, ay rai rai ri rai rai, ay rai 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 rai, ay rai rai rai, ay rai ri rai rai rai, ay rai rai, ay ri rai 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 rai. Hari rai rai, hai rai ri rai rai rai, hari rai rai, hai rai rai, hai rai rai. The last three lines. Arba'im shana kud bedor, v'yomar hem etu elevavhem, v'hem lo yadu drachai, asher nishbati v'api, im yevon el menuchati. Monday, Yom Sheni, the second day of the week. Psalm 96 on the following page, page 5. So again, think back to Yom Sheni, to Monday. Our lives are so busy that somehow we even forget where we were. But think about it for a moment. And what can you retrieve to bring it to Shabbos? And what must you leave behind? I sing a new song to you, and the earth sings too. Shiru ladonai shir chadash, shiru laya kol haaretz, shiru laya baruchu shemo, basru meyom leyom yeshuato, sapru vagoyim kevodo, v'chol ha'amim nifleotav, ki gadol ya umehulol meod, nora hu al kol Elohim, ay rai rai, ki kol Elohei amim elilim, va'adonai shamayim asa, oz ve'hadar lefanav, oz ve'tiferet במקדשו, הבו ליה משפחות עמים, הבו ליה כבוד ועוז, הבו ליה כבוד שמו, שאו מנחה ובואו לחצרותיו, היי רי רי, השתחוו לאדוני בחדרת קודש, חילו מפניו כל הארץ, אמרו בגויים, יא המלך, הבטיקון תבר בעלתימות, ידין עמים במי שערים, ישמחו השמיים ותגל ארץ, ירם הים ומלואו, יעלו שדי וכל אשר בו, אשר רננו כל הציון לפני קיבה, קיבה לשפוט הארץ, ישפוט תבל בצדק, ויעמים באמונתו, היי רי 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 רי, היי רי רי רי, היי רי 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 רי, היי לי לי לי, היי 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 לי לי לי, היי 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 היי. Tuesday, Yom Shlishi, the third day. Just think back. Maybe something very small, a smile that you got from someone, Kind of hard to see those smiles today with these masks on. A phone call from a friend or an email, someone you hadn't seen in many months or many years. What brought a smile to your lips? And what would you like to leave behind? Each of these moments is a precious stone in our lives. We have to bring that preciousness into Shabbat. The bottom of page 6. Light is sown for the tzaddik, the just one. And simcha, gladness, for those who are ethical. Tzaddikim, just ones, rejoice in Yah and give thanks to God's holy name, to the consciousness of Yah's uniqueness. Or zaru ala tzaddik, ole yishrele simcha. Or zaru ala tzaddik, ole yishrele simcha. Simchu tzaddikim baya, vehodu lezeche kodsho. Simchu tzaddikim baya, vehodu lezecher kodsho. Wednesday, Yom Revi'i, the fourth day of the week. Sing unto Yah a new song, for Yah has performed marvelous things. God's right hand and holy arm has been the source of God's redemption and salvation. Yah's help in righteousness has been made known and has been revealed to all the goyim, the nations. Yah has remembered the mercy and faithfulness bestowed on the house of Israel. All the ends of the earth have seen the salvation of our God. Lift your voices to Yah. All the earth, break forth and sing for joy and offer up praises. Sing praises to Yah with the aid of the harp, with the harp and the melodious voice, with trumpets, with the sound of the horn. Shout before the sovereign Yah. Let the sea roar and that it contains, the world and that they dwell on in it. Let the rivers clap their hands. Let all the mountains sing for joy. I guess it's like the hills are alive, right? With the sound of music. Before Yah, for Yah comes to judge the earth, and God will judge the world with righteousness and peoples with equity. Lifnei Adonai kiva lishmot haaretz, yishmot tevel v'tzedek, v'yamim be'emunato. Thursday. Not too long ago, you still should remember where you were. Yom Chamishi, the fifth day toward Shabbat. That's how we count the days in Hebrew. We go first day toward Shabbat, second day toward Shabbat, third day, etc., etc. So think about Thursday, yesterday. Maybe hard to dig up that gem, that precious gem, but try. And all too many things to leave behind. And unfortunately, many of those will still be there after Shabbat's over. So we raise Yah. We raise Yah, who guides us. A very important way of understanding. Eloheinu, it's not our God, who guides us. V'ishtachavu lahar kadsho, and make yourself humble at that holy mountain, his holy mountain. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. For Yah, who guides us, is unique and holy. And by the way, this week's parsha is Kedoshim, about holiness. And we'll talk more about it later on in the service. Romemu, please join me in the middle of page 9. It's okay to sing at home, by the way. Other people in the other rooms will enjoy it as well. רוממו יא אלוהינו וישתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו וישתחוו להר קודשו. כי קדוש יא אלוהינו, או כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו. היי רי רי אלי לי אלי לי לי ים ברבים במבי יי רי 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 היי רי רי אלי לי אלי לי 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 היי רי 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 היי רי 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 כי קדוש יא אלוהינו, או כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו. Friday today, Erev Shabbat Kodesh, Sabbath Eve. My being here is my enthusiastic, joyous moment for today. Whatever yours is, bring it to consciousness and leave behind. You know, I had one friend, a teacher and friend, Rabbi Larry Kushner, and he was many years in Sudbury, Massachusetts, Sudbury, Mass. And he always said, you know, if you think you're going to get everything done if you become a 24/7 person, someone should take you out, slap you around, give you a cold shower. Because nobody ever finishes everything they have to do, because there is no finish to that. So what you do in Shabbat is you admit to that reality. I know people actually take a blanket and cover their office table, their office desk. Because you think, if I get one more email out tonight or tomorrow morning, everything in the world would change. Probably not. So that's what Shabbat's saying to us. Take all the good things of the week, bring it together, and be ready for Shabbat. The bottom of page 10. Adonai le'amabu yashav, v'yeshev Adonai melech li'olam, ya'oz le'amo yiten, ya'yivarech et amo b'shalom. So preparing for Shabbat, for this service called Kabbalat Shabbat, the receiving of Shabbat, that's what it really means. So how do you receive? You receive by opening yourself up. The Shabbat offers us the opportunity to open our hearts, to feel less need to be defensive, perhaps be a bit more vulnerable. And we do it with this beautiful poem, song, again written in Safed or Tzfat, where there was a Kabbalistic community in the 16th century that influenced Judaism in a very profound way. And it's about wooing the Shekhinah, the indwelling presence, which is seen as the female aspect of God. And we woo her, and we try to get the Shekhinah to become part of us and to come into the world. It's there all the time, but sometimes you have to be consciously inviting her in. And look at the translation. I love this translation on page 12. It says, Lecha dodi likrat kala, the Hebrew, Penei Shabbat nekabla. Come, my friend, to greet the bride, to welcome the many faces of Shabbat. There are no two Jews that I know, as orthodox as they can be, or Haredi it can be, that does Shabbat exactly the same. Everybody's got their little spin on it. And that's really wonderful, because ultimately what Shabbat is trying to do is include as many people as possible, to make the largest tent, to gather in as many under that tent. So we use a tune that a lot of people like. I know at home, you got to be aware of this tune. It's and you two have to help me here, okay? So follow the verses. I might do the first two words of a line, and hopefully you'll do the next two. At home as well, okay? Hi rai 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 li rai rai. Hi rai 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 rai. Hi da ri rai rai. Hi rai 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 rai. Hi rai rai rai. Hi rai 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 rai. Hi da ri rai rai. Shamo v'zochor. בעיבור אחד, השמיענו אליו מיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, ושמו לתפארת ולתהילה. היי ריי 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 ריי, קלאפ! היי ריי 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 ריי, לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה. בראש מקדם ניסוך, סוף מעשה במחשבה תהילה. היי ריי 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 ריי, היי ריי 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 ריי. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, כל מיצי יהי מתוך אפיך. רב לך שבט עמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה. היי ריי 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 ריי, היי ריי 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 ריי. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. יתנערי מיפר קומי, לבשי בגדי תפארתך עמי. על יד בן ישי בית הלחמי, קרבו אל נפשי, נפשי גאלה. היי ריי 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 ריי, היי ריי 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 ריי. We're on page 13. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי התעוררי, כי באו אורך קומי אורי. אורי אורי שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך דגלה. היי ריי 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 ריי, היי ריי 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 ריי. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לא תבושי ולא תקלמי, מה תשתוכחי ומה תמי. בך יחסו עניי עמי, ונבנית העיר אל תלה. היי ריי 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 ריי, היי ריי 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 ריי. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. היורם שיסו שוסייך, ורחקו כל מבלייך. יסיס עלייך אלוהייך, כמשוש לב באהבה. היי ריי 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 ריי, היי ריי 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 ריי. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. להררי רוצי, ואת אדוני תעריצי. על יד איש בהם פרצי, ונשמחה ונגילה. היי ריי 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 ריי, היי ריי 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 ריי, היי ריי ריי ריי. Please join me. היי ריי ריי. We've got a great Shabbat. היי ריי 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 ריי, המדרי ריי ריי, היי ריי 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 ריי, היי ריי 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 ריי, היי ריי 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 ריי, hi da dee da da, hi da dee da da, hi da 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 da, hi da dee da da, hi da da da, hi da dee da da, hi da da da, hi da 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 da. Allah tochemune aham segola bo wichala hi rai rai ri rai rai oh hi rai rai ri rai 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 lecha dodi lekrat kahala Pende Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi lekrat kahala Pende Shabbat nekabela hi rai rai ri rai rai hi rai 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 hi rai rai ri rai rai hi rai 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 hi rai rai ri rai rai hi rai rai ri rai 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 lecha dodi lekrat kahala pene Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi lekrat kahala pene Shabbat nekabela. The psalm for the Sabbath day for Shabbat begins on page 15. Excuse me. It is a good thing to give thanks to Yah and to sing praises to your exalted most high name, Elyon, the Most High. To declare your loving kindness in the morning and your faithfulness in the nights. With an instrument of 10 strings and with a navel, the dulcimer, with a solemn sound upon the kinnor, the harp. For you, Yah, has made me glad through all of your works. I'll be joyous and exult in the works of your hands. How great, Magadlu, are your works. Yah, your thoughts arise from the very depths of creation. A brutish person will not perceive this, nor will a fool comprehend this. The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree, and they shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Yah, they shall flourish in the courts of our God. They will still bring forth fruit in old age. They will be juicy and rich with sap. To declare that Yah is upright, my rock, in whom there is no falsehood or wickedness. 4 lines from the bottom. Tzaddik atamar yifrach ke'erez balvanon yizge shetolim beved Yah bechatrot Eloheinu Yavrichu O Yenuvut Beseva Deshenim Verananim Yeyo Lehagid Ki Yashar Yatzuri Velo Avlatabo. Psalm 92 has a sister psalm that always travels with her, right? And this psalm is found on page 16, Psalm 93. Clothed in goodness, dressed in strength, and so the world is firmly established and it cannot be moved. You, addressed by the world's voice, are firmly established from the first, and before and after the first. The rivers have been lifted, the rivers' cries, the rivers' shouts have been lifted. The rivers have lifted their dark waves, but more than the thunder of the waters, more than the thumping of the seas is you. Your witnessing is steadfast. Your house is ever whole, even past the end of time. The middle of page 16 in the Hebrew. Omekolot mayim rabim, adirim mishbereyam, adirim mishbereyam, adibamarom, Adonai, adibamarom, Adonai, edotecha, nehemnu meod, leveitcha nava kodesh, Adonai, liorech yavamim, Adonai, liorech yamim. Ay, rai, 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 rai. Ay, rai, 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 rai. Ay, rai, ri, rai, rai, rai. Ay, ri, rai, 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 rai. Ay, rai, rai, ri, rai, rai. Ay, rai, 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 rai. Ay, rai, rai. If you are in mourning or have a yard site, the mourner's Kaddish is found on page 17. And rise if you're able to. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. V'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayeh dechol bet Yisrael. V'agala uv'zman kariv v'yimru. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach li'olam olmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpo'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal. Shemei dekutsha brichu. Le'ela min kol bechata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechamata. Damiran be'alma v'yimru. Yehei shlom Rabbah min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimru. Amen. Those who have been up, you may be seated. Well, here we are. We have one of the most interesting and perhaps the most influential parshiot in the entire cycle of the Torah readings. It is called Kedoshim, which has been translated as holiness. Holiness. In Hebrew, that would be Kedusha. Kedusha. Those of you who are familiar with the service know that in the repetition of the Amidah, we have a section called Kedusha, if you're familiar with that. So what is it? Well, it's called, as I say, the Bible critics call it the Holiness Code. It's chapter 19 and 20 of the book of Vayikra, the third book in the 5 books of Moses. And it contains 13 positive mitzvot, things you should do, and 58 things that you shouldn't do. Among the things that you should do is love your neighbor as yourself. That's one of the reasons this parsha is so well known. It has that pasuk in it. And it says that you shouldn't be angry and hold hate in your heart for your fellow. That's a tough one, isn't it? A tough one. Sometimes what you shouldn't do is much harder than what you should do. So it goes on and on with all kinds of things. Some of them we find totally wacky by our standards today. You shouldn't go to soothsayers. You shouldn't pass your child through the fires of demons. I mean, all kinds of stuff, which obviously was going on. Remember, things don't get you don't get prohibitions unless people are not observing something. You know what I mean? There's no need to say don't do it unless people are doing it. That's always the case. And you know, the great criterion, by the way, always, remember this, I say it all of my adult life, I've been saying it, life does not follow law. Law follows life. You live a life, you see what's working, you want to make it firm. You see what's not working, you want to make people aware that this is not going to work if we want to have a civil society. So this idea that God says, Kedoshim to you, you should be Kadosh, you should be holy. Or special. I think special is a better word than holy. You should be special. Because I'm special. And the way we articulate the idea of holiness, if you want to use that term, of Kiddusha, since God in our tradition is totally beyond form, right? The only legs that God has are your legs. The only arms and hands God has are your arms and hands. So in a sense, when it says, I am holy, therefore you should be holy, it's saying you can manifest this Kedusha in the world by what you do and what you don't do. In that sense, we create what my teacher Reb Zalman Alav Shalom used to say, the God field. We create it. And that people have to always understand that. I hear all too often from people, I don't believe in God. Okay. Terrific. We're not asking you to believe in God. We're asking you to act in a certain way. Right? I go to a person, let's say, and I say, why are you so upset with your friend here? You know, maybe you should give him a break. Oh, what he did to me, you have no idea. I can never forget about it. He said, wait a second. Think about it. Is this a way to improve your life, to carry around this hate in your heart? And he says, well, I guess you're right. Maybe I can sort of cool it a little bit, get a little more, relaxed about it. And he says, yeah, you'll feel better. And that's important, that the things we do make us feel good. It's okay to feel good doing a righteous act. It's not being ego-driven. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. You have this capacity by our actions in the world. But I don't believe in God. It's okay. God doesn't need you believing it. God needs you to act in the world. For instance, I'm approached by somebody. This happens all the time. And now I'm getting it on email. I'm getting it in letters. We need money. And it's always a good cause. I've yet to gotten a request for a bad cause, by the way. Everybody's doing good stuff. And there's a family here in the neighborhood, and they're really in trouble, and I need $50. I'm carrying, going around to a lot of people. Give me $50. He says, I don't know them. It's probably their own fault that they have trouble. You've heard this, right? You blame the victim right away, And I say, I don't care if you don't know them. Write me a check. That's what you have to do. And I don't care if you believe in God. I don't care what shul you go to, what shul you don't go to, right? I don't care if you hated your father, you loved your mother. I don't care about that. I care about action right now. Now, to have a good kavanah, an intentionality before you act, wow, gravy. Gravy on the pot roast. Or for vegetarians on the, what do you call it? The seitan loaf. Whatever, gravy. And that's really so important, because when we talk about being special, we talk about what special means. I remember many of you are too young, I guess, maybe some people online, but the people that are here are too young to remember Mr. Rogers. Anybody? Yeah, you've heard of him, right? He's a fairly well-known guy. And his essential teaching, and why parents in the beginning thought this was the silliest show, and then they would sit down and watch it and go, wow, what is this guy doing here? He's making my kids feel that they're each special. Wow. That each of them were part of Kedusha, part of holiness. Each of them has the capacity, no matter how old, to show kindness, to show concern, to act in a way that magnifies the sense of Kedusha in the world, of holiness in the world. And this parsha is exactly in the middle of the Torah. You will open the Torah. Tomorrow is the easiest lifting. It's balanced. Not too much on that side, not on this side. If you're familiar with the Torah scroll, right? And what is interesting, one of our wonderful Nishmat Chaim teachers this morning, Rabbi Yocheved, said, being in the middle is where we have to be. And that is so unpopular. So unpopular. Because I use the term I use, creating a vibrant center. What this country needs, what Israel needs, what the whole world needs. A vibrant center. But the reason you can't get that often is because people who are reasonable and in the middle don't act in a way that they are extreme in their vibrant centerism. You know what I mean? You can't get a rally going for, let's meet in the middle. Because today you have to have police on each side to make sure those people don't meet in the middle. We're going to see much more of that, by the way, after what happened this week in the Roe versus Wade law being hopefully not, but probably overturned. We're going to see people on each side. And they say there is no middle. But you know, even in this very important issue, there is a middle. And I think we could get to it. There is a middle. I don't want to talk about abortion per se, but you should know in the Jewish tradition, we do not advocate abortion. We're pro-life. But we judge each case as it is. And if it's necessary to have one, a rabbi would say, not only can you, you must. It's like on Yom Kippur, if someone is ill, right? You are obligated to eat, to have that person eat. Not because they want to or whatever. You're obligated. You have to save a life. You eat. So on abortion, there is no blanket statement about whether yay or nay. Each case is individual. And for the most part, we believe that being pro-choice is the sensible way to operate in a country that believes that we have choice. Remember, there were people fighting because they wanted the choice to wear masks or not. And they felt oppressed by being asked to wear a mask. So when a woman in Alabama wants to make a choice, no choices. So we have to face that reality. We have two sides, and there is a middle. And Kiddusha is by finding balance in the middle. And all of these laws, all of these mitzvot that we have are about that, about finding balance, about creating community of balance. And it's true of every spiritual tradition that exists. Certainly in the Far East, and it's certainly in other traditions that we have within the West. To find that middle. And people say that if you find the middle, you're not committed to it. You got to be one or the other. You got to be us and you got to be them. And that's not very productive, as we have seen over the last many, many years. I don't think there ever was a time when the middle prevailed, to be honest. Totally prevailed. I think the road to take, the path to be on is, let me be able to live in the middle. One may not change the world. But imagine if more and more individual people started saying, you know, I don't want to be us and them. It doesn't help anybody. I want to create a middle. And being in the middle means that you have to be observant of what's going on to either side of you. It doesn't mean being apolitical. It doesn't mean not caring. It just says, my being in the middle is the road for us to perhaps find some modicum of humanity. Because remember, when you get into tribalism like we are, the other person has to be demonized. It's very important. Right? To make you feel better, that person has to be wrong. And we have to fight that. So it says in the Kedoshim, many, many wonderful mitzvot. Some of them are well known, right? Do not curse a deaf person. Do not put a stumbling block in front of the blind. These are all things we can understand. But I give you an example of the stumbling block before the blind. Now that's obviously don't trip somebody who's blind, okay? Matter of fact, you shouldn't trip anybody who's not blind. Okay, that's other thing. But it basically means that in principle, I'll give you an example, there is no caveat emptor in Jewish law. What's caveat emptor? Let the buyer beware, correct? In Jewish tradition, we say that a person coming to buy something from you is in the category of a blind person. He doesn't know. So if you're selling a car to someone, I'll give you an example. If you were true to Jewish tradition, you would say, I'm selling you this, but I want to tell you the carburetor is going to go. And maybe I'll give you a better price, but you should know there's something wrong.
That's the Jewish approach. The seller, in a sense, has to not put a stumbling block in front of this person who doesn't know. So these are little things, right? But they add up. And all through these mitzvot and kedoshim, we get a certain sense that there is a possible path for us to follow. And it's really a parsha that if you've not read it, I mean, we'll read part of it tomorrow morning, but you could find it easily online. You go to Sefaria, SEFARIA.org, and you'll get the entire Talmud, entire Torah, with Hebrew, with translation, a choice of translations, and you look for Leviticus 19 and 20. It's all there. It's worth a read. 6 minutes, not more. And you'll be stuff, as I say, you'll find wacky and out of line, and other stuff that you'll find so precious and so, if you will, part of what it helps to do in the world. To do in the world. So, my friends, we're going to now turn to our evening service, Ma'ariv. Ma'ariv means the west, by the way. That's what the word means, the west. And what's happening in the west at this time? The sun is setting. Right? Shacharit in the morning. Shachar means coming in for the east. So we used to not pray in buildings, by the way. You prayed outside. And when the sun set, you went, wow. When the sun rose, I haven't seen sunrise very often, but when the sun rose, you go, wow. And that's what it's all about. How do you look at the world and see that we have everything we need in it? Everything we need in it. If people would only be able to appreciate it and have gratitude for it. The cause of all friction, I believe, is not being able to offer gratitude for what you have. And it's not always easy. I understand that. A few years ago, in one of the Rosh Hashanah talks that I gave, I found a study that said you could create neural pathways for gratitude if you, every day for 42 days, we have a thing now called the Omer. We're doing it 49 days, okay, which is probably as good as 42 days, maybe better. That if every day for 42 days straight, not missing one, if you miss one, you got to start again, like the Omer. You can't miss one. If you do it and every day write 3 things you're grateful for, within 42 days, you will naturally exhibit gratitude. Gratitude. So I wish us all this capacity, in difficult times as they are, to be able to exhibit gratitude for things that we have been given, particularly the earth, nature, everything that we've been given, which we didn't produce. And to go, wow. Right? Some call it radical amazement, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. It means this capacity to say, wow, because I'm really observing what's out there. I'm not walking through it with my eyes closed. I'm not walking through it in order to get somewhere, but the journey itself is what's so important. So on page 18, a little piece from the Zohar, the Book of Splendor, the mystical commentary on the Torah, Parshat Truma, a beautiful, if you will, sentiment here about what Shabbat is about. And there are 2 things it says that Shabbat is about. And one is getting rid of anger, and the other is getting rid of being judgmental. That's pretty hard. Pretty hard. Even anger is not that easy. So here's what it says. Those at home, you can read along with me. A vision of Shabbat, an insight into the profound meaning of being at one. Through the service of Kabbalat Shabbat, the throne of glory is prepared for the Holy One. With the arrival of Shabbat, the Shekhinah is liberated from all forces of evil and hard judgment, leaving her free for intimate union with the holy light, adorned with many crowns by the Holy One. All kingdoms of anger, all dominions of judgment, flee from her presence. No alien power reigns in all the universe. No alien power reigns in all the worlds. She is bathed in light from on high, while receiving a crown of Shabbat prayers from earth. From us, the holy people, all of us are adorned with fresh additional souls, which are ours on Shabbat. Then we begin Shabbat prayers, happily blessing her, joy and gladness on our faces, released from thoughts of severity and judgment, uttering Baruch Hu, praise Yah, as Shabbat blessings and peace begin to flow. Be able to rise, please rise, as I invite you to our service on page 19. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed. You may be seated. The first two blessings before the Shema. The Shema, the reading of the Shema, the great statement of oneness and interdependence. Let's read together on page 19, the first beautiful, beautiful prayer. It's worth learning Hebrew just for this paragraph, it really is. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, asher b'dvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhmah poteach she'arim, ובתבונה משנה עיתים ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים, במשמרותיהם מרקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה גולה אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, יא צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה היה, המעריב ערבים. And let us say, Ahavat Olam, great love. Great love have you shown us. Great love have you shown us. You have loved us. You've given us Torah, the guidance and mitzvot, ways of connecting to you, laws and judgments, and all of this you have taught us. Therefore, eternal our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, when we consider deeply your laws, and we will rejoice in the words of your Torah and mitzvot forever and ever. For they are our life and the length of our days, and in them days and nights are guided. Never remove from us your love. Praised are you, the Eternal, who loves the people Israel. V'avatcha tasir mimenu leolamim. Baruch atah haya ohev amo Yisrael. And let us say, the Shema is found on page 21. And the Shema, as you know, is not a prayer. People think it's a prayer. It's a statement. It's a reading. And what does it mean? If you take it and break it down. Shema, listen. Now listen can mean two things, right? It's different than hear. It's often said, translated, hear, O Israel. I'm sorry we put that translation. It's listen. Pay attention. Pay attention. Hear might also mean that, but pay attention. Listen. Yisrael, you who wrestle with God. That's what Yisrael means. God wrestler. Yah, the ineffable. That which can never be defined, never captured by concept or form, which is manifested only in looking at the universe. God's us. God's us. Because if we look out there and we observe, and we sit, some even say that even seeing how nature operates will help us understand how we ourselves fit into it. Yah, Yud He Vav He, is Echad. One. One. You look out there and guess what? It's all connected. And some people just are unconscious about it. It's all interconnected. That's why what you do and what you do, what I do, has effect. Hopefully positive. So we'll take one breath for each word on page 21.
Shema Yisrael Havaya Eloheinu Havaya Echad. Hashem kivod b'chuto v'laved. Please join me. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol miodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom halevavecha v'shinantam levarecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha v'eitecha u'v'lechtecha b'derech u'shochbecha u'vkumecha u'kshartam liot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha u'chtavtam al mizuzot v'eitecha u'v'hisharecha. Page 24, middle paragraph. It's a wonderful interpretation of the second paragraph of the Shema. Let's read it together. Those who are here and those who are at home. Read it together with me, page 24, middle of the page. If I carefully follow the way I have been shown, the way of justice, mercy, and humility, serving a life with the fullness of my life, then the earth will flourish with righteousness and riches. Pure rain will fall in its season. The earth will bring forth her bounty. My labors will flourish, and the fragrance of life will scent the air like fine oil. There'll be food enough for all, and all we are able to partake of it. No one will exploit another, for no other shall be separate from the one. But beware. Beware. If I follow another path, pursuing gods of narrow desire who separate one from another in quest of power and control, then the heavens will rain poison. Creation will fall ill, and I and all will soon disappear from this good earth. Therefore, I impress these words upon my heart to quell anger. I bind them upon my hands to stop violence. I set them before my eyes to see the one who is all. By word and by deed I teach them. I repeat them at home and away, morning and night. I write them upon the doorpost of my home and upon my gate. Let my dwelling be a haven from ignorance and delusion. Then my days and the days of my people will endure forever, one generation passing righteousness and kindness to the next, all the days of the earth. Adonai Elohechem emet. The blessing following the Shema is one of redemption on page 25. So we had creation, revelation, and now we're on the third part of the Jewish triangle, redemption. Page 25, you're able to rise, please rise. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar ba'kodesh, norati lo tohosei fele. Balchutecha rubnecha bokayam lefnei Moshe, ze'eli anu v'yamru, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed, v'nemar kifadadu Yaakov, ugolo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch ataya, Goal Yisrael, and we respond with Amen. You may be seated. Cause us, eternal God, to lie down for well-being and help us arise, our ruler to life. Spread over us the shelter of your well-being and fix in us good counsel in your presence. Save us for the sake of your name and shield us. Keep far from us enmity, illness, strife, hunger, and fear. Keep oppressors from confronting or pursuing us. Let us be covered by the shadow of your wings, for you are our protector and helper. Mercy and compassion is your rule. God, our going out and our coming in for life and for well-being from this time forth and forever. And spread over us the shelter of your well-being. Praised are you, Adonai, who spreads over us the shelter of your well-being, and over the people of Israel, and over Yerushalayim, and over the entire world. Ufros aleinu,
Sukkot Shalomecha, Baruch Atah Hapore Sukkot Shalom Aleinu, V'Kol Amo Yisrael, V'Al Yerushalayim, V'Al Kol HaOlam, and let us say, Amen. If you're able to rise, make a declaration of Shabbat, which will lead us into our silent meditation, the Amidah, page 27. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ואני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, כששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינופש. We transition with the Chatzi Kaddish on page 28. The Amidah, the silent, starts on 29, concludes on 39. Either read the English translations, read the Hebrew, read the comments, or not read anything at all. Just bring words into your heart as you like. Yitgadal, Yitgadal Shemei Rabav, V'yalmad Evrach Yerdei V'yamlich Malchutei, B'chayechon Uv'yamechon, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בהגלה והגלה, ובזמן קהרי ואמרו, אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם יומי יומיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפועה ויתרומה ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה ברכו, לעילה מכל בחטא ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דה מהירן בעלמה, ואמרו אמן. מצוותיי תתקו פי מתרדך, ברוך אתה. אבך הטובים כזו בדברים, ולך ולזר בשביל ברוך אתה. אתה גיבור, Let it say,
כי יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך יצורי וגואלי. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable unto you, O Yah. Ose shalom bibromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael v'kol yoshvei tevel, ve'ibru, and let us say, Amen. A transition to the conclusion of our service in the middle of page 43. תתקבל סלוטון וכל דהול ישראל קדם אבוון דבשמיא ואמרו אמן. שלום רבה מן שמיא וחיים עלינו וכל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל Yisrael v'imru amen. The Aleinu is found on page 44. If you're able to rise as we conclude our services. Aleinu l'shabech l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו גויי ארצות, ולא שמנו משפחות אדמה, שלא שם חלקנו עמהם, וגורל עלינו עם כל העולם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נותן שמיים ושכינתו זו בגבורים עמנו אינו דמת מלכנו ובזולתו כתוב בתורתו וידעת היום וישבותו לברכו כי אדוני הוא אלוהים בשמיים ועל ועל הארץ מתחתנו. For the sovereignty is yours, and you will reign eternally in honor. For it is written in your Torah, Adonai Yimloch le'olam va'ed, the eternal will reign forever and ever. And it is said, the eternal will be ruler over all the earth, and on that day the eternal will be one, and God's name will be one. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz v'yom hahu ביום ההוא יהיה אחד ושמו אחד. You may be seated. Before we do the Mourner's Kaddish, I'd like to make sure I have the list right here. This coming week, we will be commemorating the anniversaries of the deaths of Leonard Kaplan, Judith Cohen, Alan Burton Fendrick, Ralph Glickman, Constance Madeline Goldstein, Rose Klenko, Samuel Langton, Irving Mates, Herman Schultz, Simon Schulman, Oscar Stroh, Meyer Sugarman, Edith Wagner, and Juan Jona Walensky, and Lori Levitt. Is there anyone else who has a yahrzeit this week? If you do, put it in the chat, and maybe Noah will give us the names. Is there anyone? Yes, what's the name? I couldn't hear it one time. Elias Sargon? Elliot, yes. Anyone there? No? No, okay. So if you're able to, if you do have a yahrzeit or you're in mourning, the Mourner's Kaddish, page 48. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba, bi'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol bet Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevorach li'olam u'me'olmaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpo'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekutcha brichu, le'ila min kol birchata v'shirata,
תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ויאמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה בן שמעיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ויאמרו amen. If you'd like to rise for Kiddush, it's on page 50. If you have your Kiddush cup at home and like to fill it, and if you're able to rise, we rise for the Kiddush. Oops. Savrei Chaverai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam borei peri agafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher kiddishanu mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'yavav v'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemekra hakodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'charta yotanu kidashtaim kol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha b'yahava v'ratzon hinchaltanu baruch atah haya mekadesh hashabbat. We wish you all a good Shabbos. Try to make this one the best you've ever had. And if you have not had one that's great yet, make this one the best that you ever had. And we have some announcements from Rachel before we say goodbye. And these are very important announcements.
Thank you.
Put the mic near you.
Can you hear me? Can I take this off? I'll leave it on. I'll just speak loudly. So first of all, Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Here and over there, in the great beyond. I want to make a few announcements. First of all, tomorrow morning, we have Torah study at 9 o'clock, and then services starting, sorry? Oh. We're having services tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, and before that at 9 o'clock is going to be Torah study. And then, and all are welcome to join. Also on Sunday, it's Mother's Day, so I want to wish all the mothers in the congregation a very happy Mother's Day. Also, it is the Mother's Day Walk for Peace. And so it's not too late to contribute or to walk. For more information, reach out to Judy Scheckman, Jane Daniels, or Barry Keller. And there's more detail in happening, so you should be sure to take a look at that. Also, I want to mention that next Thursday evening, online from 7 to 8:30, our TBZ GBIO group is holding a project reentry, a Zoom program. And this is an exciting opportunity for us to bring to the fore and educate so that we can educate ourselves more around the challenges and opportunities for people coming out of Massachusetts prisons and jails, and to understand the issues that they are facing. For more information about that, contact Jerry Levine. And then on May 22nd is our spring fundraiser concert, where we will have the healing power of music, an evening with Batya Levine. And if you have not had a chance to hear her, she's an amazing. You'll see in the announcements, there's a link so that you can get a preview of her. This is also an opportunity where we will be honoring and celebrating TBZ members Dr. Gergen Barnett, Dr. Baton, Dr. Weintraub, and all of the wonderful TBZ frontline and essential workers. Last but not least, I also want to remind folks, to let folks know, you will be hearing more about another GBIO event on May 26th, which is a Thursday. It's an opportunity where all of the 60-some-odd GBIO organizations will be coming together and to make our voices heard on 3 very, very important issues. So with that, again, happy Mother's Day, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, wonderful, wonderful. The GBIO is the Greater Boston Interfaith Organization, as Rachel said. There are about 60 communities in it. I'm glad TBZ was among the founding ones. And it's been going on as an important lobbying group that really brings it to the politicians and tries to get them to commit themselves rather than talk, but actually to some action. Hi, rai, 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 rai. Hi, rai, 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 rai. Hi, rai, 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 rai. Hi, rai, 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 rai. Hi, rai, rai, ri, rai, rai. Hi, rai, rai. Hi, ri, rai, 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 rai. Hi, ri, rai, rai. Hi, rai. Hi, rai, rai. Hi, ri, rai, rai, rai. Hi, rai, rai. Good Shabbos, everyone. Wave, everybody. Wave, wave. See you all soon. And look forward to seeing those who are coming to shul tomorrow morning. Good to see you all. Shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.